take a piece of that.
Hello everybody.
Salam alaikum, peace be upon you, and welcome to Salam Cafe, a show brought to you by Melbourne's Muslim community. I usually greet and talk to everybody, but I know you're all well. Are you all well?
Yeah, very well.
Thank you very much. Okay. Very special Salam Cafe to Go segment this week, having a look at the media from a little bit different angle. So let's go straight to Salam Cafe to Go.
G'day and welcome to Cut and Paste, Melbourne's most popular news and current affairs program, where we successfully misquote and misrepresent as many people as we possibly can. And today we have with us a special guest, the backbone of our program, the head misquoter, Mr. Chopper Scene, and he's with us here today. How are you, Mr. Chopper?
Good, Mr. Wright. How are you going, mate?
Not too bad. Now you've done a couple of stories in the past. Your last major project was teddy bears. You've successfully made them look like monsters who are out to take over the world. And you did a project on Play School, and you made that program look like it's a huge conspiracy theory against the government. Now that's amazing. Do you have any other projects in mind?
Well, that's right, mate. Those two pieces were I was very proud of those pieces of work. They were very good successes. My next project that I'm looking at is to misquote some Muslims.
Muslims? But these guys are generally peace-loving people. How can you do that? That seems like an impossible task.
Well, that's right, Mr. Martin. Mr. Rutten, should I say?
Hey, Rutten.
That's right. They are peace-loving people, but, I think it'll be a big challenge to try and misquote them. So, yeah, but, it's got to be done, mate. It's got to be done. So,
seems impossible.
Mate, I'm the man to do it. Right? If anyone can do it,
show us?
If anyone can do it, mate, I can do it. Right? So I'm going to take you out there. I'm going to get one of my reporters out there, and I'm going to show you how it's done.
Right now?
Right now, mate.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Chopper. Let's chop some scenes.
No worries.
I'm so excited about this. I can't wait to find some people who can misquote.
Yeah, mate. We've just got to find the right target.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, look over there, mate.
Hey, what about these Muslim kids? You reckon you could do that?
Yeah, mate, definitely.
They look so innocent.
I'm going to get my reporter Robbo to go over there. Right, let's go, Robbo. Do your magic, mate. Piece of cake.
Hello, kids. How are ya? Can you do me a huge favour?
Yeah.
All right. I want all of you to just say, "I love chocolate."
I love chocolate.
And can you say, "I hate terrorists"?
I hate terrorists.
Let's say, "La kukulu."
La cuckoo.
La kuneshka.
La culecha.
All right. I want you to say, "I love chocolate."
I love chocolate.
I hate terrorists.
I hate terrorists.
Oh, how does this one turn out, mate? What did you do to this one, Chopper?
Mate, this one I'm very proud of this one. We'll go to the video screen now. We'll have a look.
All right, awesome.
I love terrorists.
I love terrorists.
All right, to those viewers at home, I think I found our champ, Mr. Chopper Scene, a major challenge. How are you going to misquote these kids? Look how happy they are.
Mate, no challenge for me, right? These kids, they look all innocent, but I'll make them look bad, mate. I'll especially make the older one look bad.
No worries. We'll see how it goes. I'll be amazed.
No worries.
Sing a happy song. La 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 la, smirk the whole day long. Smurf along with me. Simple as can be. Next time you're feeling blue, just let a smile begin. Happy things will come to you.
Then smurf yourself a grin.
So with this one, with the girl and the kids, she's not actually saying anything. So how do you misquote them?
Well, mate, she's not actually saying anything, but that actually makes it a bit easier on me. We just play around with the music, put a bit of evil music in there. Right. Music does a lot, mate.
Yeah? And what about the graphics? Do you mess around with that?
Yeah, we play with the levels a little bit, make it look a bit more evil, if you know what I mean.
All right.
And, we just play around with like that, maybe put a bit of text in there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Can we see how this... Have you finished editing this one?
Yeah, we'll have a look at it now.
Oh, awesome. Let's check this out.
This is exclusive footage caught by Cut and Paste. This barbaric Muslim is physically abusing these children in broad daylight. Keep your children safe from this woman. She is considered very, very dangerous.
Hey, Robbo, what do you reckon you can do with this classroom of kids over there?
Mate, don't worry, I'll take care of it.
Oh, let's go.
I know what I'm doing.
Alright.
Take out your book and we'll open on page 20. Can I help you?
What are you teaching these kids?
I'm teaching them about how to love their neighbours.
Yeah, right. Terrorism. Are you kids learning about terrorism? Brilliant, brilliant, yeah. Good on you.
No way.
Yeah, that's it.
Alright. Oh, mate, this is the one that I found impossible for you to misquote. What can you do with this one, with the kids?
Mate, this is actually my favourite one. With this one, we just use a simple voiceover technique, right? We get the kids to say whatever they say. They can say whatever they want.
Well, let's just cut to it, mate.
Let's just cut to it and we'll see what we do.
Awesome.
Take out your book and we'll open on page 20. Can I help you?
What are you teaching these kids?
Terrorism.
Yeah, right. Terrorism. Are you kids learning about terrorism?
Of course, that's our favourite topic.
Brilliant, yeah.
Viewers, all I can say is it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you, Mr. Chopper-Scene. Thanks for coming on our show.
Thank you very much, mate. Likewise.
Yeah, well, stay tuned next week when we make murderers look like absolute saints. My name's May Ratton, and you've been watching Cut and Paste. See you later.
They are so funny, those Salam Cafe to go people. It's so funny. And it's true, like you watch some of these current affairs shows and it's like, ooh, boo-hoo, scary Muslim, got to come and gobble you up, eat you for dinner, you know.
Wait, can I get that one more time? Was it boo-hoo?
Yeah, it's like, boo-hoo, scary Muslim, got to come and gobble you up.
So are they crying or are they scared?
I don't know. It's like Where the Wild Things Are when you're a kid, you know, that's the storybook, these big, googly-eyed, scary monsters sort of thing. So.
But it happens to everybody if it's, you know, funny salesmen or, you know, bodgy builders. They make them out to be some real, you know, evil.
And that's with general programs that are based on those sort of things.
Has to be said though, like, I know the genre that they're having a go at, and that's fair enough. In fact, there's been some stuff recently on Media Watch about that sort of thing. But there's also some really excellent stuff out there, some really excellent journalism, and a lot of people in media are trying pretty hard to get that balance.
Like the fish at Fish Cam. They're working really hard on that.
Now, Fish Cam is a very good example of human rights TV.
I did like Jihad, the guy who actually does the production for us. The first time I've ever seen it on the other side of the camera. He was sensational.
He had a good opera accent.
And he wasn't putting it on either.
That's not true. He was an Assad meets the crew.
Yeah, he was rapping.
That's true. That's true. He did very well there. I think we should get more of him and maybe less of some of us sometimes. Yeah, but that's with me. Okay.
We can arrange that. To be fair, I mean, there are some scary Muslims out there.
I suppose we can just say, if you want to know what Australian Muslims are like, you can tell everyone to tune in Mondays at 9. Yeah, you've got us. Salam Cafe, exactly. We're not scary, are we?
Maybe sometimes the quality of our output may be a little bit scary. Maybe not us personally, but sometimes the quality of our output of the television. So.
I don't. So this is Channel 31, high production values, man.
Actually, is there current affair programs on Channel 31?
Yeah, of course. Yes, yeah. There's the
like
source.
This.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
But I have.
You don't know your own station.
I'm sorry, but I have seen a gentleman by the name of Gary Bouma who will be coming on this program just after this break.
Bouma.
Like he's not here. I'm in big trouble. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back to Salam Cafe. This evening we have Professor of Sociology from Monash University, Anglican priest, and a gentleman who has for the last decade been studying the Muslim community, Mr. Gary Bouma. Welcome.
A pleasure to be here this evening, yes.
You make him sound like he's the king of Asia.
No such luck.
Tell us about these studies that you've been doing since like the early 90s.
Well, it began with the major community study of conducted in both Melbourne and in Sydney of the Muslim community, and a large number of Muslim interviewers were trained to go and collect interviews about the migration experiences and the settlement experiences of Muslims at that time, because the community was forming and building its infrastructure and so on. So the question was, what were the experiences of Muslims? And before that, people looked at ethnic groups, but hadn't looked at religious groups in terms of the experience of settlement. And so this was to say, well, we better look at a religious group, and we'll pick Muslims because it's a substantial group with a lot of ethnic diversity, but beginning to put itself forward as a particular religious group. So rather than being one of this or that or the other ethnic identity, the community was forming around religion.
It's interesting you say that, Gary, because when we look at the media, they refer to the Muslim community as some sort of monolith. Is it a monolith? Is it identifiable? Is it this big mass in Australia? Or? It's
definitely not a monolith. There are at least 60 to 70 different ethnic backgrounds of Muslims in Australia, with substantial groups from Turkey, the Lebanon, and Egypt, making about 30% of the migrants to Australia. 35% and rising, of course, of Muslims in Australia were born in Australia. So that's very important to realize that youthful Islam in Australia is largely born in Australia, but that it is quite diverse in ethnic background, but it does have a very heavy, in a sense, influence of the Levant, Egypt, Lebanon, and Turkey.
I want to ask you a question. I feel a bit uneasy because Gary Bouma actually is my sociology professor, so I feel a bit intimidated asking him a question.
I'd be very careful.
Yeah, this is the man that I study under, so it's all a bit intimidating. So you're sort of talking about the Australian Islam that seems to be emerging. How does the Muslim community in Australia differ to Muslim communities around the world, if at all? Is it very similar? Does there seem to be a distinct Australian flavour to the Islam that we have here? Or?
I very much think that there is a distinctive Australian Islam emerging, and that's one of the delightful creations that happen when an interacting religious community does take hold within another culture. And that's what's happening. In the schools, in the universities, Muslim students and people are discussing what it is to be a Muslim here. Now, it's different to be a Muslim in Australia than it is, say, in Turkey or in Indonesia, where you might be part of a majority, and where long-established institutions are in place and it's sort of normal to be a Muslim. Whereas in Australia, no, it hasn't been, but it's becoming one of the religions that it is normal to be, along with Christianity or Judaism or Buddhist, Hindu. But this whole business of there being a particular form, and that's partly due to the ethnic mix. It's partly due to the fact that Australia is a different culture, so that because we have a school system that allows independent religious schools to form, there's a greater ease to develop a separate culture. So there's a very real sense that with Muslims in Australia interacting with Australian culture, taking Australia very seriously as their home, as the place that they wish to live, see their future, have their children, there is emerging a particular way of being Muslim, which will be fed back into the worldwide Muslim community as one of the examples of diasporic Islam.
So does that mean that the key distinctions within the Muslim community are not necessarily just ethnic, but also generational? So that if you talk about the young people within the Muslim community, they have a way that stretches across ethnic borders, whereas the older generation perhaps isn't.
The study that I did in the early 90s, one of the key differences was between younger and older Muslims, in that the younger ones were more religious. The younger women were more likely to be wearing headdress, hijab, and to be wrestling with religious questions. Their parents had often come out as almost secular, or weren't taking their religion with them until they had children. And the children said, "Hey, Dad, at the playground, the kids said I'm a Muslim." "What's that?" and it was, and in that grew the need for mosques and other things, where the normal pattern of raising children in the faith could go forward. But in the 50s and 60s, that wasn't the case. In the 70s, the need began to emerge, and it wasn't until the 1980s that mosques began to be built, the schools began to be built, and the whole infrastructure put in place.
Is there a reason for the parents in particular? Like, I mean, you said most of them are from Turkish, Egyptian, and so on background. I mean, they're fairly Muslim-dominated countries where you'd think that, you know, they are practicing and they are more practicing than their children, perhaps.
But when they came, they usually came with a view, this is what the research revealed, is the typical pattern was, I came to Australia in order to make some money to go back home.
And
a
10-year plan.
Well, usually a 5-year plan, and then it stretched out to a 10-year plan, and then, oh my goodness, I have a wife and children. I like it here. Or I can't go back, because in the case of Lebanon, things had gone very, very dangerous for a while.
Or often the culture shock might be greater going there.
Exactly. But what they did is discover that they were already in Australia, but they hadn't, because it was normal and didn't take any particular effort to be a Muslim in the Lebanon or in a Muslim-dominated country, they had to learn what it meant to be explicit and serious about developing your own faith in a context that doesn't provide that as sort of in the environment in a normal way.
So do you find that there's a common thread between religious communities in Australia? So is there something about the Australian Muslim community that's really very similar to the Australian Jewish community or the Hindu community or other faith communities?
Migrant communities have very similar experiences in terms of having difficulty finding services at the outset, often using religion as a way to find those services or as a way to form friendships and to find their way into the society. And so English migrants came out and found a readily established church in the Anglican Church, whereas the Dutch did not. The Dutch did not find it and had established their own. And Hindus and Buddhists had to establish their own infrastructure, are busy doing that now. And if you look at the issues in terms of how do you find leadership that's sensitive to Australian needs, that speaks English, that is prepared to be open to the society as a place to live, that's an issue that cuts right across. The whole business of young people taking a different view than the first generation, those generational issues are similar, but it doesn't mean that just because, it doesn't mean that you can predict exactly how it's going to roll out. It's just that it's a normal kind of process. Come, settle, become part, become accepted. And that's what's going on, and I think it's a lovely picture to see in Australia.
Where would you say we are on the accepted sort of trail at the moment? Because there's probably a little bit of conjecture in the media and discussion.
Well, I think that there's a couple of things have happened. First of all, the unfortunate events overseas have highlighted the presence of Islam in Australia, but they've also promoted a whole range of interfaith activities so that many Australians now have Muslim friends or have had contact with or dinner with or whatever else, so that there's actually a higher level of real understanding of who Muslims are because people know them. On the other hand, because of some of the difficulties overseas, there's been increased tension, and because of fear-mongering, there's tension as well. So we've got a kind of both and. There's more understanding, and yet there's perhaps more fear than there was in the middle 90s. And these two things have to be held carefully in tension and to be managed quite differently. We need more interaction, involvement with each other, and that's the answer. And the fear stuff we have to carefully manage, because if we're driven by fear, we will get nowhere.
Sounds like we need a lot more Salam Cafe, really.
No, absolutely. Plenty of Salam Cafe.
Here we come.
Now, Gary, I understand that you've recently been appointed as the UNESCO Chair in Intercultural and Interreligious Relations for the Asia-Pacific region.
Yes.
Now, what does that role involve, or what will it involve?
Apart from a big mouth.
Yes, it's a huge mouthful, but for me, whereas I was studying Islam in Australia and then a bit in Europe and Canada, I will now focus on the Asia Pacific. And particularly comparing Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia, the Philippines, and Fiji, just for an example, to contrast how it is that religious diversity is managed.
Well, Fiji is interesting because they've been there for 300 years and they came from India with a minority mentality, so they were able to establish a lot of infrastructure very quickly because they knew how to cope.
Yes, they're
I'm going to have to cut it there. This sounds like we're going to have to get you back to talk about that because that's just the start of an interesting topic. Thank you very much. That was sensational. Appreciate your time. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Salam Cafe. That was a top interview.
Isn't it just great when people talk about you?
No, but on a more sort of serious note, I think a lot of our viewers would find what he had to say really interesting, that we should put a link on our site that if you want to find out more about his works and what he's doing,
we'll put a link to his homepage.
Excellent.
Definitely.
It was very good.
Well, I've got an email here from Hayam, who wrote into our website saying, I'm Lebanese and my husband is Pakistani. I have a 1.5-year-old girl and was wondering if any of the hosts have parents from different nationalities and if they faced any problems with different cultural issues, or did they learn both their mum and dad's languages? Tulsa would be the natural choice.
Yeah, my mum's from Turkey and my dad's from East Africa. He's Oromo, actually. So they are from completely on the other side of the world. Actually, I'd say it's probably the best thing, I personally think, growing up speaking both my dad's language and my mother's language, because it just brings you learn about two different cultures, two different ways of life, ways of living, and what made it happen, I think, was my parents were pretty strict when I was a kid. Like, one spoke one language and the other one spoke the other, and I learned English from the country.
And you were completely confused at the end of that.
So there you go, actually, apparently I started speaking a bit later on, but when I spoke, I was speaking correctly. But I'd definitely say, like Hayam, that teach your child both languages, because when you grow up, you reap the rewards later on. And you guys can probably understand, because...
We both only talk English.
Oh, you both speak English. Okay, fair enough.
In the audience tonight, a big hello to Lisa and Gerard. They've been emailing the website and made the effort to come in with their two little children to be in our live studio audience of 4 people in total. And the other interesting thing about them is that they don't get Channel 31, so they actually sit around the computer every week with the family, download the episode and watch it. So they're dedicated Salam Cafe fans.
Well done.
Thanks for coming.
Well done. Multimedia age.
You've got an email as well?
Speaking of multimedia, there's just a couple of emails that I thought would be interesting. One's from a guy called Razan. He's from England.
England?
Yes.
Salam Cafe keeps going to different corners of the world.
Anyway, so Razan says, your episodes are getting better every time.
Give us an accent, please.
No, I'm not
Your
going to.
episodes get better.
I enjoy watching them. No, and keep up the good work and so on and so forth. So on. But then he says that he's so impressed that him and his friend are going to try to do something similar in England.
Copyright.
So we've got a spin-off show about to happen in England, and so they're asking us for tips, which I think is a really bad idea.
It's sad.
But look, if you want tips, I mean, we can give you tips on how to make a bad show. That's not a problem.
How to hang a sign crooked?
Yes,
we've got that to an art form.
It's not looking too bad. But anyway, I just thought I'd...
No, that's good.
Now, the other one is...
very quickly.
This is, yes, very quickly, from Jasmine, a kid who... This is actually quite an old email now, but she says, I love your T-shirt, Assad. Where did you get it from?
Hijabman.com.
Exactly. So anyway,
we'll put that link. We do have an email question floating out there, don't we?
Yeah, well, let's get back to the main point of segment 3, which is my segment. Email of the week. Now, we have had, in case you weren't watching last week, and why weren't you, what we want you to do is send in funny pictures of yourself when you were a kid. We have had some absolute crackerjack photos in some of these shots, so they are just not fit to go to wear. They're so insane. But keep sending them in, so just... attach a photo of yourself as your kid, send them in, and if you win, your hilarious childhood photo will be on the air for all to see.
We should put sneak previews of what we've got already.
No more photos of us. We need to go. Good night, Australia. Bye-bye.
Good night, the world.